Awesome. All right, looks like we're good to go. So this is going to be our first inaugural ImFit podcast. I think today's topic is our first and our starting fuck ups. So, uh, not necessarily why we got started into fitness, but the first things we did once we got going. Whether it be your first programs and you started lifting, or how you got into what diets you follow now. So I think just tonight it's going to be me, and then we have Matthew over here, and then Andrew. So Andrew, if you want to start us off, what'd you first start into when you started lifting?
Well, I would say the second time that I actually tried to lose weight, which was the most successful time, which is now. I did what everybody does, and I went to a bunch of machines, and I fucked around a lot. It was really awful. The only thing that was a saving grace for me was probably that I did an upper and a lower body, but I don't think I touched squats or deadlifts for at least a year. I was like terrified of them. It was awful. The only thing I actually was bench press, and even then it was embarrassing. I didn't touch the bar to my chest. I wore gloves. I did everything wrong. I was that guy at the gym for like a good year while I was losing weight. But the first time I did, it was even worse. Is that at least the second time I went to an actual gym. The first time I went to just a little community hole in the wall, and again, just the weird machine circuit. I would just do whatever the fuck I felt like. It was terrible, and that's probably why I fell out the first time. So I had no fucking idea what I was doing, and not that I knew any better the second time. But that first time, it was really bad. I was working out with like old grannies and like people and people from like the live-in disability center down the street, and I was like the strongest guy there just by virtue of the fact that like my legs worked. It was really I was really a shining example of what not to do when you start doing workouts.
Well, I mean, did you learn anything from that at least?
I think the biggest thing I learned from it was that, especially the second time, was that I kept an open mind and I was willing to try things. Eventually I wandered into the racks, and eventually I learned how to squat terribly, and eventually I learned how to deadlift shitty weight, and that I should touch the bar to my chest when I bench, and stay away from the weird rowing machine in the corner that takes 10 minutes to set up before you even do anything.
Well, what about you, Matt? Where'd you start out at?
Well, like so many people, I've got that tragic backstory. I got divorced against my will, and you hit that little depression, and of course you stop eating and you do all the unhealthiest things, all the things that we see people doing on purpose day after day. You go down to eating a cup of yogurt and a handful of nuts, and not exercising, and just sitting in your room and crying and jerking off. And that was me for a couple of months, and yeah, it worked. I mean, I did lose weight, and then I got all skinny fat because of it. Let that be a lesson to the rest of you.
That was me for like a week when I was separated. I was the worst. I was just a blubbery idiot for like a week and a half, and then I decided to go do something about it. But yeah, I know that feeling.
For me. Yeah,
It
lasted
everyone
about a
has a
month
story
for
like
me.
that, though. Where, I mean, granted, mine's just like your girlfriend broke up with you. It's okay to be sad a little while, but you got to pull yourself out of it eventually.
Mm-hmm. And what better way than to go to the gym? Even if you're doing it badly or doing shitty workouts, or basically just going to posture and trying and failing, then at least it's something, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Did you have like a routine that you were trying to do, or did you just kind of wing it?
I didn't. I went to the gym. Really, I was living almost right across the street from a Gold's Gym, and I wasn't sleeping very well. I've been a clinical insomniac since I was 14, and it just got worse when I was depressed. So I wasn't sleeping very well, and it was 5 in the morning, and I hadn't slept all night, and I thought, fuck it, why not? What else am I going to do? Just lay here and stare at the ceiling. So I got up and I went to the gym, and I signed up at 5 o'clock in the morning, like the Guy had no idea what to do. He was just some kid who was there to open the door. But he let me in, and I got on cardio machines and did almost 2 hours, like an idiot. Yeah. And then I got off and fell.
How many of us did that when we started? Was like the 2 hour cardio, and then you might have gone and done something else. I know I was guilty of that. I would do like an hour or more of cardio, and I would do weights, and I'd be like, ugh.
I don't know. I was kind of the proverbial fat kid. I mean, luckily I had a sports background growing up, so track was my main sport. I did it all the way through college. So I was always, since middle school, I've been lifting. I had a decent idea of what I was doing. Me being the genius that I am, since college, gotten into running and the cardio, even if Gavin still makes fun of me for it. But at least when I started to get back into lifting, I had a decent idea in my head of what I should be doing. So I was winging it, but I know, like, you have a leg day, you have a upper body day, whatever, and I could base accessory lifts off of that I should be doing, which I'm still kind of doing that now. But I was never big into doing programs. I think the only one I actually tried was Ben Henley and group wanted someone to do the Arnold blueprint with them, and I figured, what the hell, I'd hold him accountable and give me something different to do. But I think my biggest mistake was jumping into a bodybuilding program when I've been doing mainly the strength work the entire time. So I went from doing sets of like 3 to 5 on all my main lifts to doing sets of 10 or 15, wherever to ask you, with no rest at all, and God, it sucked. I injured my wrist for a good 6 months. I strained something in there, and I was doing clean and jerks, and just from bending back on my wrist, pulled something, and that's what I get for trying to do a program that I was definitely not ready for.
That's how I feel when I do the 60-second rests, and you guys have seen me bitch about that with the squats. My 60-second 300-pound sets of 6, I'm just dying when I do that. But yeah, if you jump into from like a 3 to 5 rep to 10 rep, that's just, ugh. You're gonna die and die hard.
That's all
It's
you.
a big difference, and if your body's not ready for it, it's gonna suck.
Yeah,
See,
your
I did the
body's not
opposite.
ready.
I did the opposite. Once I first got it through my head that I needed to have a lifting program, I went and got like a beginner's program off of bodybuilding.com, and I lucked out and got a decent one. And it was built in such a way that it became high reps after a time. It became 12 to 15 reps. So I was squatting 3 times a week, 12 to 15 reps. I mean, the weight dropped over the course of the week. Otherwise, I would have died. But I did that for a while, and I had some pretty good strength gains off of it. But then I went to a program that's geared more towards building strength, instead of splitting it between hypertrophy and strength. And I was amazed at how much I could lift when I only had to lift 3 to 5 times. And I'm much stronger for it now for having done it, backwards, I suppose. But I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Don't judge me.
I do remember the only thing I remember doing was I would do like 3 by 10 and 5 by 10 anytime I did, machines or whatever. So there was at least that. So I had some of that, but like the nutrition part for me was what really killed me. Like I was eventually doing at least bullshitting my way through something marginally appropriate, but really what ended up killing me in the end was that the nutrition part just murdered me. But before we get to that, other than don't do this, what else would we have done differently, or tell people to do differently, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think just having, even if it's not the greatest plan, having some sort of plan going in helps out a lot. Especially, once I started recording my weights, because before that I'd go into the gym, have an idea of what I was going to do. Like, it's going to be upper body day, I'll do bench and then whatever. And then I'm kind of making up in my head, like, well, I think I did this much weight last time I was here, so maybe I'll try something like that again. And I feel like you're kind of handicapping yourself after a while if you you're not gonna see any progression if you don't know where to start and where to go from there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
if you don't,
even if you're just bringing a notebook with you to the gym, some shitty little piece of paper and a broken off pencil, as long as you can write something down to compare with from week to week, because if you're that person that goes to the gym and says, I don't really know what I'm doing, I guess I'll do this for a little while, and that machine looks kind of fun, or hey, that guy looks really strong and he's doing that machine, therefore I will be strong if I do that. That isn't going to work for you, and you're probably just wasting your time.
Yeah, if I guess if I had one thing to recommend to people, especially having something written down that you know you're going to do, and then if you're not that comfortable, because I don't know how many times I've seen people say they're afraid of going to the free weight section, get on YouTube, watch some videos. There's thousands of forum videos out there, and if you have a list of what you're going to do, and then you can look up how to do those, you should be pretty confident going in, and no one's really going to pay attention to you unless you ask for help,
yeah,
And don't be afraid to ask for help. That's why you pay gym dues.
yeah, exactly.
If you work at a shitty gym and there's one guy who's sort of distantly, running the main counter, yeah, he might not give a shit enough to stop and help you. But if you're going to anything resembling a quality gym, there should be somebody there, even if it's not an employee. You find the biggest guy who looks like he knows what he's doing, and you come and you meekly ask him if he can, help you in any way. Whatever you've got to do to improve yourself.
I think other than structure, I'd just say keep an open mind. Like, that was the biggest reason I ended up transitioning to Wendler, and then, like, doing 3 fucking years of Wendler, which, of course, you all know I'm writing up the 3-part opus on. But if I wasn't open to the idea of doing something else or reading or at least able to admit to myself I didn't know what the hell I was doing, then I probably would have failed the second time just like I did the first time. So just like, don't be afraid, but also don't be afraid to admit you know nothing and that you need to figure it out and that you need to listen to someone that knows better than you, even whether it's on the internet or if it's the guy in the squat rack there for 3 hours you've been trying to work in on.
Yeah, back to Matt's point, like, at least when people come ask me for help, I don't care at all. I would love to see someone learn how to do something well as opposed to sitting over there and struggling on their own, Don't be afraid to ask for it.
Even if you have to pay for a PT session, there are some, even at commercial gyms, there are decent enough PTs to get you started. So that's an option if you have the money to do it. Not that everyone does, but or at least creep on what the PTs are doing with their clients and then write down notes.
Follow them around.
That seems to be the dirty little secret of the gym, is that nobody's paying attention to what you're doing, and at the same time, everybody's creeping on everybody.
Yeah, that is the uncomfortable truth, especially when everyone has leggings on.
Even the guys.
Oh, you damn right.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's cameras at my gym.
All right. Well,
the whole time.
I mean, that's where we first started getting into working out. So, what about the whole nutrition thing? At least everyone knows me on my end. I'm the macros guy. But have you had any failures starting out in your diets, or like where'd you start out and just kind of winging it?
Literally, the only thing I did right was I started using MyFitnessPal. Literally, the only thing I did right.
How long is your streak on that?
I can look. I think I'm at 1,262 days.
That's
but
insane.
I will confirm. But yeah, that was like I started doing that in mid-December of 2012, and that was, like I said, it was the only saving grace for when I started, because there was a stretch. Well, I underate my calories for a long time, and I've gone over that story plenty, where I was down to like 1,400 or 1,500 calories at one point, and that was not enough. Yeah, it was disgusting. And the fact that I didn't regain all the weight is just amazing to me. But there was a point, and it's for like a week and a half, where I ate like less than 20 grams of protein, and I thought this was a great idea, and it didn't work. I was sore all the time. It was
That
awful.
sound you're hearing is a million bros crying out in fear and pain.
Well, you guys have seen the pictures of me when I was 156 pounds. I was like thin as fuck. That's because I didn't, even when I kind of got my act together, I still wasn't eating enough food or enough protein. Period, for whatever I was doing in the gym. So I literally did everything wrong. I still managed to lose the weight, and then I somehow managed to not regain the weight in the end, and I learned better. So if you want to learn how to lose weight properly, download my Fitness Pal and do not follow my example.
How did you do something to prevent yourself from getting that weight back, or did you, once you found out what your calories should be, did you jump right up into it?
But first, well, I went to the doctor like almost right after I hit about 156 pounds, and then I started gaining the weight back a little bit, and I kind of at that point knew it was going to happen. So I went to the doctor. I had my thyroid was a problem from me under eating that long, so I took some pills, so that helped a lot. But then I did try and kind of ease my way back up to a reasonable calorie level, and at one point I did gain enough weight that I looked a little bit tubby. But then once I kind of got everything sorted out, it evened out. I leaned out quite a bit, and now I'm sitting at a nice, comfortable 185 pounds. But that took me a year and a half at least to fix.
Right. What about you, Matt? You said you went all depressed and stopped eating.
Yeah,
How'd you fix that?
at the time I was about 300 pounds. I'm 6'2" to give perspective. So, not morbidly obese, but just generally fat and unhealthy. And I managed, just through sheer dumb luck, to lose a good bit of that, doing the 2-hour sessions on the elliptical and the treadmill, and just in the most unhealthy way possible. And the problem with doing that was that, yeah, I lost weight, but I was perpetually skinny fat. I was that pear-shaped guy who just never lost all the weight in the midsection, and was constantly irritated by that. I didn't understand why I couldn't lose weight. Why can't you spot reduce? Why the hell won't you go away, stubborn belly fat? It honestly wasn't until I discovered ImFit, and I think it was you, Chris, that pointed out my Fitness Pal to me. And
Go me.
yeah, go you. And then from there, it's I had a better experience than Andrew did. Apparently, I was not able to bullshit myself anymore about what I was eating, or how much I was eating, or what the macro contents of what I was eating were. We see a lot of people day in and day out that they think that because they eat foods that they think are healthy, that's enough. Eating a gallon of yogurt is not healthy, even though yogurt is a relatively healthy food. And when I got my Fitness Pal, I had to stop eating all of the excess rice and Chinese food and bullshit that you're able to bullshit yourself and say, oh, well, this can't be that many calories, can it? Yeah, it really can.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that's helped me too. Was I think I lucked out. I first started getting kind of back into shape. My family was doing a marathon relay in Pittsburgh. It was just it was a relay distance, but it was split up over 5 people, and I was very out of shape. So just the running for that and cutting back a little bit of my calories and started to lose weight. And that was about the same time I joined ImFit, and I give all my credit to Gavin and Sherlock. I just started listening to what they were talking about, and the macros came up, and I'm sure you noticed someone mentioned my Fitness Pal, and it doesn't necessarily matter what you eat, but if you eat it, you log it, and you account for it, and you adjust what you're going to eat the rest of the day because of that. And from there, it was smooth sailing. So I think I lucked out into getting good advice early on in my weight loss, because I'm 6'3", and I was pushing 290 probably when I first started getting back into it, and I'm 225 now and much happier with how I did, with how things are going.
It's amazing, isn't it? How much better it feels.
I think the one thing, since my Fitness Pal is kind of the big commonality we all have, is people don't realize that just because we just use my Fitness Pal and we've get everything to fit our macros. It doesn't mean we aren't eating a lot of chicken and rice and shit. Right? Like, I think that's almost like a thing people don't realize. That, yeah, I mean, I ate, a couple days ago, I ate half a pizza to myself, but the next 3 dinners were all chicken and rice with like a little bit of barbecue sauce on it, because it just, that you have that one kind of grody meal, and then you fit it in with everything else, right? If I have a gross dinner that I know is going to be gross and I'm going to feel like a lard ass, I'll eat what looks like a bodybuilding style meal plan for like for the next 2 or 3 days, as almost like a counterbalance. And I think that we'll end up probably having a whole podcast on MyFitnessPal and what people eat and what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat, and all that. But people don't realize, I don't think, that just because we're sitting here going, oh yeah, macros, and you can kind of eat anything you want, you don't really, because it is a zero-sum game. If you eat this, then you can't eat this by process of elimination.
But it is easier than people think most times to fit everything together. I had pizza for dinner tonight. I'm not going to have chicken and rice for lunch tomorrow, most likely, but I'll have something. There's so many things out there that you can fit together in so many different ways, and it seems like having a tool like MyFitnessPal is sort of the key to making all of that work. It doesn't have to be as cut and dry as I had one bad meal, now I have to have 3 good meals. It can all just sort of fit together the way you want it to.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a little bit easier for us too, us being bigger guys, where I know I eat about 2,800 calories at the moment, and I can have that donut and there's still plenty of room for me to fix the rest of my diet for the rest of the day. Whereas, if it's a female eating 1,800, it's a little bit bigger of a deal, but I mean, you can still make things work.
I guess I should have mentioned that I'm only 5'7" and I'm only 185 pounds, but I did start at 265, and I still somehow eat at least as many calories as you guys do.
That still bugs me. I feel like I think you eat more than me now, and you can cut weight. I need to figure out how to fix that.
We need to go on Wendler, apparently.
Yeah.
It's the Wendler system. I'm eating. I think I ate a net calories of like 3,200 today, and I'll probably lose another half pound in a couple of days.
I think what's killing me was ever since I ran that half marathon a month and a half ago, like, I've got nagging injuries and things just aren't feeling 100%, so I haven't been working out nearly as much. But I know, actually, I wanted to bring this up earlier when we were talking about eating way too low for a long period of time. That's when Gavin got me onto Lane Norton's information, this BioLane website and podcast, and his reverse dieting. Because at one point I was down to 2,300 calories, which, I mean, it's not obscene deficit, but it was getting close to my BMR, and I started doing that reverse dieting, and I added at least 800 calories in my diet every day, and didn't gain a pound.
Well, I didn't do the Lane Norton, but I know that I'm eating pretty much double what I ate 2.5 years ago, and losing weight eating it. Right? It's amazing how much your body can rebound if you do it right, but it's amazing how much damage you can do if you do it wrong. So the big thing is, like, yeah, a lot of people are like, well, I want the results now, but in my case, I was paying for it for almost 2 years before I could kind of let go of the almost the inherent panic of overeating and will I get fat again. And I don't have that problem anymore because I know I won't, because I know I can eat a disgusting amount of food for my activity level. But it took me so long to get there that the amount of mental and physical investment I've had to do, it's not worth putting yourself through. You should just do it right the first time, and you'll be a lot happier for it.
And I think that leads us to another topic is, we see people bring up a lot of diets in group, and while we may not necessarily follow those diets, for the most part, I'm okay with letting people do what they want to do. It's the diets where I think there's potential for harming yourself. I mean, I know it's always a hot button topic, but keto gets brought up a lot, and we strongly suggest you stay away from doing something like that. But
First off,
Or,
Let me,
yeah,
let
go
me
ahead.
interrupt for just a second. Who here hasn't tried keto for at least a week?
I actually didn't.
Yeah,
Communist.
I never bothered
Really?
to
I'm
try
the
it.
only one.
Well,
Yeah, I
how
think
did you feel when you did it?
I felt like shit. I did it for 2 weeks because my now ex-wife wanted to do it, and I wanted to be a supportive husband. And I, I lost mental clarity. I felt like shit, and I constantly felt like I was dancing around on eggshells about what I could and could not eat. You know, it's, oh, can I have this? Oh God, let me check all of the caloric information and find out if it has carbs. And it's just plain not worth it in my estimation for those very reasons, if nothing else.
The biggest
So
reason
restrictive.
The biggest reason I didn't do it was the restriction, because I there was no way I thought that I could do it, right? Because the minute someone asks to go out, oh no, I can't. Well, I can't have carbs, but also the flu, the kettle flu. I'm like, I don't want to have a fucking self-induced flu if I don't have to. That's just seems like the dumbest idea.
I heard Nick's story pretty early on when I joined the group, and that immediately turned me off from ever trying anything like that. His memory loss and the emotional stuff that was involved with not having carbs for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no thanks. I don't want to hurt myself.
Ugh, yeah, no.
I like my beer too much.
I think we'll have to address like keto and the 1200 kcal and some of the crash diets. I think in a little more detail in other in future podcasts, but
especially when Gavin can join us.
But yeah, someone with actual science background. Not that it does help that I read a lot of academic journals, but it was all in like sociology. So there's a certain point. There's a certain point when the terminology just loses me, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah. Anyway, to get back to my point, not just to rail on keto. Like, you know, see people talk about veganism or vegetarianism. You know, I personally have no issue with that as long as someone makes sure that they get what they need in their body while doing that. It's the people who try to jump on those bandwagons thinking, yeah, I'm not eating meat, I'm going to be healthy. Yeah, but there's other issues there that you'd have to then deal with because of that.
It creates a complication that you don't need unless you really want to impose it on yourself. Like,
yeah. If you have ethical qualms over it, you know, more power to you. I can respect that. But don't do it just because.
The difference is that these aren't so much diets as they are lifestyles, or at least they're meant to be. You know, you don't go vegan for a time. You go vegan because you want to be a vegan for whatever reason. You know, and if that reason is I think I'll lose weight, then you're just plain wrong. That's not the reason to do that at all.
Right.
Given some of the vegan and gluten-free foods that I've seen on the shelf, you're not gonna lose weight if you're just eating that crap.
No shit.
It's no better than the regular stuff 3 hours over.
That might be a good topic for later on. Have you two talk about grocery store lifestyle?
The sorority house, if nothing else.
Oh, I can only imagine the stories.
I'd prefer to forget.
All right, guys. Well, I know we covered our two little topics that we had listed out for at least for this introductory podcast. Anything else you want to add while we're here?
I think just to reiterate the fact that if we're going into any thread, and as long as people aren't being assholes about it, and no, none of us are going to be necessarily, but that if we're asking hard questions about what people are doing and why we might seem like we're picking on a particular thing, it's more because we're just making sure you're doing the right thing and that everyone's been honest with you and that you've been honest with yourself in terms of what you're doing, especially with keto, the low-calorie diets, especially the low-calorie diets, if anything. And, you know, even to some extent veganism and vegetarianism, because when you get into those not fads, but those kind of side diets, if you aren't doing it right, you're gonna be so fucked. It's that simple. And a lot of us have experienced to some degree what goes on if you screw it up. And so we're just coming from a place of experience and concern, and not just us being jerks and not being all supportive, triggery sort of people.
I can get behind that. I mean, if we're speaking up and it seems like we're nitpicking or jumping on one topic, it's probably because we see that all the time. We see it quite often where, I don't even know how to describe it, the 1200 kcal diets, that sort of thing. You're not the first one to post this. You're not the first one to post this week. You're probably not the first one to post this today. And it's not that we want to rail on you for it. It's just that so many times before when somebody has posted it, they've had the wrong idea about it, or they've been misinformed about it, or for whatever other reason we got the impression that perhaps they might not know all the angles. So if we're asking hard questions, it's probably just that we want to make sure that you understand all of the angles.
And I know sometimes it seems heavy-handed on our part, especially admins, because we do have an admin chat box and we all talk. Sometimes we all jump into a thread, and it looks like 3 or 4 people are berating you for having this opinion on something. Where, yeah, maybe some of us need to step back when that happens, but we've just seen it so many times and want to make sure that you're approaching your lifestyle in a healthy way. We hate to see you make some of the same mistakes that we did, and have something that's going to potentially take you a few years to fix if you screw it up too bad. So it's all with your best interest in mind, but I know sometimes we can get a little overzealous with some of the topics that come up a lot.
Well, bearing in mind too that amongst our group, we all sort of fit into the role of, for want of a better term, expert on a specific subject. If it's the science, it's Gavin. If it's the food, it's probably me. If somebody just needs a biblical style smackdown, we call him Betsy. But that's usually what it is. It's not, oh, come look at this idiot who's posting about this. It's, oh, okay, shit, this has to do with science and food. Matt and Gavin, what are you doing? Can you address this right now? So if it looks like all of a sudden everybody has jumped in, it's probably just that we kind of see how this affects our own wheelhouse.
Yeah, and we honestly care about what people do. So yeah, we get a little fired up over some things, but like I said, it's all with, everyone's best interest at heart.
I think it'd be a good problem to have if everyone just succeeded and we wouldn't have to answer these questions, but we know we have to, so we just do, and it's about honesty rather than to some degree worrying about how someone feels about it. Not that we want to hurt anyone's feelings, but we aren't going to sit there and worry about whether you're going to be hurt by us just telling you the truth as much as just getting the truth out there and just trying to get it across to you without being assholes that you really should reevaluate what you're doing.
I do have to say that's one of the more rewarding things I've found being in this group for so long. I came on pretty early when it started. Seeing people make progress based on the advice you give them. So, I love seeing some of our older group members who give a lot of advice now. They've learned something, or you see the progress they've made in their own lives, and that's awesome. Nothing makes me more happy than to see that.
And we would like to see more of it, so just don't take it personally, damn it.
All right, on that note, I think we can end this first podcast, and I'm sure we have, well, Andrew, yeah, you have more topics that we took down in that list. Do you have any ideas what we want to do here coming up?
I'd say I would guess we're probably going to address a lot of the stuff that we kind of ad-libbed tonight with the 1200 kcal, the keto, whatever you want to call it. Those are, I think, topics that we've already touched on with Conrad and other people putting posts up. But it might be worth doing a video and really kind of explaining our own experiences and breaking it down a little bit and using those past posts as good supplements for launch points. And then from there we might actually talk about some routines and stuff. We got a nice big list, but we're always open to suggestions if anyone has a brilliant idea after hearing us talk for a half hour or whatever.
Yeah, if you do have any ideas that come up, feel free to send any of the admins a message, and we'll see if we can make something come out of it. All right, you guys have a good night. Yeah,
especially Nick. He's a big, cuddly teddy bear. Everybody, just go PM him right now.
All right, guys. You have a good night.